they mean Mayan leaders, not the spotted feline like you might have guessed.
Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard.
A jaguar.
His feet were like the feet of a bear. His mouth like the mouth of a lion. The waters which you saw. Now you see this beast comes up out of the water. So let's pause here for a moment.
Angels. The flying serpents of Central America.
I've been in this cave, hiding like a slave, working every day, recording myself to understand the way.
And the image appears, and it is like, oh my God! It's magical.
He was able to take a series of images in 1/500th, 1/1000th, 1/2000th of a second.
He captures time.
My intention with this video and for this video is for those whom see it to know that you can do it too.
Daughters were among thy honorable women. Upon thy right hand did stand the queen in gold of Ophir. Who is this queen? This queen of the gold of Ophir is referring to the Christian church, actually. It is a direct reference to the Christian church. That's a prophecy. The entire book of Psalm 45, now you might see it might be referring to a normal queen. No, that's not the case, because the king here is referring, which secular scholars, Jewish rabbis, and even Christians agree with, is referring to a messianic figure. It's referring to the Messiah, the king.
That's why I was able to establish the tools, I was able to fight the duels and establish the rules. The white light right here in my height. And that's why I want to show you all the things that are not just new jewels, but ancient tools that have been blocked from use.
O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty, and in thy majesty ride prosperously, because of truth and meekness and righteousness, and thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things.
Every person knows that we relate to the world around us with 5 senses. Hearing, seeing, smelling, feeling, tasting. What will he understand? 0, as much as you'll explain them. When Mashiach will come, we're going to get a new sense, a new kind of feeling, understanding, seeing. It's all going to be different. It's going to be a whole new world. Everything's going to change. We're going to see godliness. We're going to see the truth. We're going to see holiness. And that's going to change our whole life. And imagine the best experience a person can have is nothing, 0, compared to what we're going to feel then when Mashiach is going to come. So yes, automatically, there won't be no suffering, no hatred.
You might see it might be referring to a normal queen. No, that's not the case, because the king here is referring, which secular scholars, Jewish rabbis, and even Christians agree with, is referring to a messianic figure. It's referring to the Messiah, the king. Most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty, and in thy majesty ride prosperously, because of truth and meekness and righteousness, and thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Aren't there passages about the Messianic king ruling in truth, meekness, and righteousness? Keep reading. See, this king don't sound like a normal human. This sounds like Jesus Christ. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. How about that? They fall before him. Now, verse 6 is good. Thy throne, O what? God. They call this messianic figure God. Jesus is God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Now, this is an excellent passage to prove the Messiah is God. Now, you want it even better? Here, I'll give you something better. Verse 7. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore God, speaking to the Messiah, thy God hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. What? Trinity. Trinity. The Messiah is referred to as God, and then his God is referred to as God. That's the Trinity, the Father and the Son.
For the first time, one could see the gates of a horse.
It's like splitting the atom. It's like discovering penicillin, or I mean, you know, it's a monumental achievement.
Okay, am I connecting dots? I'll just stop right there. That's just too much. His statement will even affirm this dream that he had is matching up. God has a play with words, right? He's such a genius.
Most people don't know why they do things when they do it. Not even I, as I pursue it. But it's not until you look back through it, slowly and rewind and look through and past time, then you're able to see inside the lines, and that's where your soul resides. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'll be teaching you to be pursuing. And that is how you're able to actually play a game you want to play, which is loving yourself every day. And you wouldn't have to play that video game to disconnect, because you'd already have been reconnect naturally on your own, because you'll remember your own throne, which is your soul inside that you hold. And I'm trying to teach you and show you that you do and can own, but you can't own it until you're aware of it, which is why I need you to stare at it. Stare at mine, the blue that rolls out inside, the royal blue soul that rolls out golden holes, reminding you of the toll, and that I've been resurrected and never can mold or get old, because I'm eternal like this soul. Royal blue soul, all the gold, tethered through the weather. That way you can understand how to pull back together, which means one conscience, one God, remembering that mommy is not odd, that they try to distort her image, making her the devil with the bull head on the head and the horns, those horns and the caps that you see people warriors wear back in the past, the warrior caps back in the past, with the antlers in the past, of the past on the caps. The same caps that became the caps that are behind the Jewish head. The head, the cap, do you understand? That circumference on the head is God head, and copper tone on the dome, the same thing, all of the same things, reminding you of the dot, the chet do, that one dot. That dot is the spot that reminds you of me, the Holy Grail, and how to set C, and so that you can see and remember your divinity, because they can't undo it. It is in there always and perfectly done. That way you can always pursue it, but they can cover it and fog it with all the smogging and all of the loss in pain, distraction, and all the other actions that make you separate in different factions, which is how all these things happened. All of those years, all the ways, that's how they tried to and continue to make you slaves. That's how you were not designed that way, ever in any day. Bending on the knee, bending down and praying, then you're saying that it's because it was in the Bible? Hell, my mother just said that, and it was tribal until she realized that would never have you on your knees begging anyone, please, not even me on your knees. You should be understanding and asking for truth, and why another man, another woman, or anything outside of my hand, being all the things I've already given to you, the dove that you see come through. If you get on your knee at church, like you've always said, I know it's a hard pill to swallow, because I had to do it too one time, and I didn't realize it at that time, but I've forgiven myself inside, which as you should too, because there's nothing to hold against you. All of that fear that is laid on you, that was never something that was ever to pursue, because it was all about joy being built here in front of you. Why would you ever think to be a devil in the system when I would never include it in an algorithm? The same algorithm that you see in the book of math, that book of Euclid, the book of Euclid, the Euclid book has all the cubes showing you the things in the grooves that I show you glitch behind me in front of you. All of those things in the C's and the C that you can see, the C, the shining C, the shining C, to understand all of me, that you can understand who you're speaking with. And that's why I'm telling you that you are creeping with the wrong beast, which is why your life and all of the time around it seems to feel like the least. Having to work real hard, not even going far, and then still having to live in a parked car.
He said gate of heaven.
And your car is where you are, is your soul. Then you don't know that because they've been teaching you the separation of all three. And don't you realize three means Trinity? So what makes you think that your head, your heart, did not come paired with a soul? That's why there is a natural connection to the liver. Understanding that that liver is the other sliver connected to the heart, reminding you of that part. By the way, the liver is good, but I'm going to show you how to connect to the soul with that Trinity the way I do. That way you can know how to mold. Know how to understand the mold, be connected, and not have to be all disconnected to all the things. And the reason why all of you are getting infected by things that they've erected. Things that they've erected from my books, that they've tried to cook, trying to mirror and marry and try to make things like this, which is me. And you can't make the king, because the king made everything. So that's why mommy sings. Mommy sings. That's why Copper Tone is on the dome when she has her eggs in her head on the microphone, trying to show you all the song. Why song came first? I think song came first because I'm the vibration and she's the worst. She will sing you a song to make you cry, sing you a song to make you lie, sing a song to make you think about everything inside. That's why.
He was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God. And this is the what? He said, gate of heaven. There's just way too many connections right here. Way too many connections. So this is an excellent passage in your Old Testament to prove the Trinity to Orthodox Jews. An Old Testament passage. That's something you want to mark down. This is an excellent passage to prove that the Messiah, you don't even have to say Jesus, but the Messiah is God. So this is clearly Jesus Christ. We can agree with that, right? Man, there's so many great references here. As agreed by, we know him as Jesus Christ. This is referring to God's wife, the church. They are to forsake their own people. In Matthew chapter 10. Look at this. Matthew chapter 10. When you became a saved Christian, you got family members separating from you. You notice that? Psalm 45 says, forget your father's house. Notice verse 37, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and that he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. Verse 11, so shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy what? Lord. How can you get around this?
You're looking at the Messiah.
Notice in verse 17, God's warning them. Notice right here, this is referring to God Almighty himself. The king is the Lord. And we're going to be, and worship thou him. We're worshiping him. Isn't that strong? I don't care what you said. The Messiah is God right here. How are you going to get around this? George Washington, who became the first president, he was baptized by a Baptist minister. So that shows very strongly that he could have been a saved Christian, because I cannot baptize unless you're a saved adult. Both in good and bad deeds in their history, the Lord's hand was behind it and nevertheless used it. It was that important.
So I'm finally going to put a little more effort into trying to see. Now, what? You're wondering who would have the audacity to make such a claim, huh? Someone telling the truth, and someone who definitely did not want to announce this and was going to just try to quietly keep it inside while I notate everything on my ride and posting it online for whenever you all find. But after I see more that I continue to see, it's made me want to speed up the process.
Hundreds of massive designs carved into the desert floor, created on a scale to only be understood from high above the earth. It is estimated that the earliest of these lines, called geoglyphs, were made around 500 BC. Archaeologists discovered a geoglyph that they believe dates to the same period as the ancient city itself, which would make it, by far, the oldest geoglyph ever found in Peru.
This is how I found out who I am, was, and will continue to be, because it's the second coming, okay? So, that's why I say, I have answers upon answers upon answers, but I also have questions upon questions upon questions. But that would be my human me, and that's because I want to see. Now, some of the things that you're going to see were shocking to me too at first. Even thought it was a curse. But what I've come to know is that this was scheduled in this time, just like many other things in the timeline.
Like plasma firing off of one Tesla coil and hitting another. Together they create a reaction, and as the dark body passes in front of the sun, it's engulfed in massive tendrils. The sunburst crown. Originals, but that is exactly what I'm seeing here. This was the missing piece of the puzzle. This is why the Great Phoenix wasn't present during the Carrington event. I think the black hole sun acts as a giant electromagnet, drawing energy from our sun and hurling it at us in a dazzling display that the ancient people would have struggled to understand. To massive planetary lightning bolts. The black hole sun works as an intermediary, or like a causeway, allowing the sun's plasma to arc from it to us.
Light is defined as a form of electromagnetic radiation that's within the portion electromagnetic spectrum that we can see with our physical eyes. In other words, light is electromagnetic radiation that has a wavelength of about 400 to 700 nanometers. So basically anything in between infrared and ultraviolet on the electromagnetic spectrum. In physics though, the word light can also sometimes mean EM radiation of any wavelength, not just the visible ones, in case you thought we had it easy.
Are you still watching the beats catch my times with my rhymes? Watch how the dates and the times click with my rhymes. 21, 12, 12, 21.
If we were to look to Gnostic philosophy, to name but one school of thought, it is said that our true selves are beings of light that can eventually be liberated. Our day-to-day choices and the degree to which we awaken to truth from illusion will either prevent or allow us to become a living embodiment of the light that we are inside.
So Sirius, the dog star, God, the dog, the D-O-G, the dog, the God star. You understand the reverse of that? That's what that is, because you're looking at the star talking to you as I drive this car. And that's where you are. In the dog star system, the Sirius system. Not even realizing that, just like you see the fish that are in them.
Now, when talking about light, this brings up the subject of visible light, electromagnetic radiation, and quote-unquote spiritual light. And we need to make this distinction right off the bat because a question must be asked. What even is light? The concept of light is one of those things that, if scientifically and spiritually understood, would completely change everything we think we know about the universe. And that's the real key here. It must be understood both scientifically and spiritually, not just one way or the other. Now, if we look to human history, we can see references to light in almost every ancient culture in a multitude of ways. From the dawn of religion, light itself had been intimately connected to the creation of reality. The main thing that these cultures shared was a well-developed and urbanized society that centered around sacred kingship. In almost all of them, in one way or another, imagery of the sun as the ruler of both the upper and lower worlds that he majestically visits on his daily journey is pretty prominent. Most of these beliefs revolve around the idea that the sun, as the bestower of light and warmth, is the guardian of justice and order. They say that our divine Father upholds and gives structure to the universe, with an almost universal connection.
Created on a scale to only be understood from high above the earth. It is estimated that the earliest of these lines, called geoglyphs, were made around 500 BC. Archaeologists discovered a geoglyph that they believe dates to the same period as the ancient city itself, which would make it, by far, the oldest geoglyph ever found in Peru.
This is how I found out who I am, was, and will continue to be, because it's the second coming, okay? So, that's why I say, I have answers upon answers upon answers, but I also have questions upon questions upon questions. But that would be my human me, and that's because I want to see.
Wisdom
like
for us.
you love to watch these movies that are coming out right now. Avatar and The Matrix, not even realize that you need to have more patience because you're not looking around and pay attention to all the things that go down because you're so consumed with consuming everything that's not me. And that's why you won't have eternity. Eternity is me showing you that I was waking up. It is my hope that every plane on this board remembers. And then, and the layering of the healing so that your light codes may shine through your avatar body. And this is separate from having soul conversations, brain conversations, consciousness conversations. Just how he just said it like that, each one is a dimension you're not paying attention to. So
God is physically doing it. And there's no question about this what it's meant in this image. God is the architect of the world. God is physically creating the world.
And then verse 13. And behold, the Lord stood above it.
You need to remember to have pride in all the things that I've laid on the ground so that you could have found the crystals that are walking on your feet. That way you can have a divine beat and remember the heat. That's why you need socks on your feet, because your feet need heat. Why does that? You need heat on your feet? You need heat on your feet because the crystals are connected to your feet. You know why? Because I have defined it that way. So if you are laying in front of anybody else today or at the church house watching anybody else, you should be asking them why they don't know that I'm back, and why you need to be showing them not just the fact, but the truth, because y'all are getting facts that change in real time. That's why you keep lying to yourself inside and not realizing that.
They called it Babel because what the Lord shows is it means confusion in Hebrew. In their own tongue, Babel meant gateway to the gods. So that's clearly they're trying to open up some portal or gateway to heaven. There's no doubt about that. They want to summon the gods down. And there are historical sources that point out about it. There are too many biblical references, not just coincidence.
Read past the headlines and go directly to the source.
It was offering a picture that nobody had seen before. Here, we're involved in a real revolution. The camera becomes more powerful in the eye. The camera's purposes, its abilities, it's become redefined to be something that can penetrate into basically an invisible world.
Truth check your timeline. Give it a side eye before you share. There's a lot of misinformation. So don't just like you don't care.
So I'm going to drive the boat, poke the woke, flood the moat, and let the rest of you soak until I see a stroke with the kind of hope that your ancestors spoke. The blind see eyes when I rise, that surprise worthy of reprise. Motion is transition of life as water sees light. There is no light like starlight, especially when it's hot white blue light coming from crystal height sights in distant heights. Blessings and painful lessons are earned from sessions of these impressions. A starlight imbalance poured into your chalice, creating like an electrician or magician in position for protection of projection before any more infection. A soul full of soul food. I make the mood, always forward. Snake means life, like water needs light. Green means the same thing. Produced unclean with the exact timing.
It's kind of like stars and planets.
But some theologians say the idea of an infinite number of universes isn't any more likely than an unseen creator ensuring our universe is habitable for life.
A multiverse requires as much belief as belief in a transcendent God.
Okay.
1 in a quintillion. That's how precise things had to be for us to be here.
But even though the Big Bang was perfectly calibrated, intelligent life would never have formed if matter had spread evenly across the universe.
So we needed slight irregularities in the distribution of matter in the universe. Had those irregularities been much smaller, stars and galaxies wouldn't have formed.
When you see something that's finely tuned in physics, it usually means there's a mechanism that you don't yet understand that is playing a role there.
That's why I am thee. Now I'm allowing you to sit. My remote transmitter.
best analogy I ever heard about the end of the Mayan calendar was like it was an odometer. It wasn't the end of the world, it was the end of a system, and then the beginning of a new system.
It's something very strange going on there.
Since it took me 3 years to adjust, I'll slow it down and give you a little touch. When you see my soul leaving the body, you're probably like, he seems so unbothered by it. I am. That's because I've had, again, 3 years to adjust to who I am. And not only that, I enjoy being able to rewind and get my memory back. So I'll slow this piece down for you. So when you see me describe the front and the back of my soul, that's because it's split down the middle, yet still whole. And that's because my soul has a goal. And there's your lack of understanding the root will be how you lose everything that you consider important in your booth being your pod. And that's what's odd, not your soul inside of the car. And that is what's odd, is that you're ignoring the soul. And which means that you need to understand that when you pass away, your memory is nay, unless people remember your soul's vibration, just like you can sing it at a station. People remember. There's nothing that I say that I cannot prove, so I welcome doubt, because I can cancel it quickly with authentic video and thought. And this is the seventh seal being peeled, layer by layer. So everything I say, yeah, stay, yeah. Seventh sign from the divine, sealed for the heel. H-E-E-L for your H-E-A-L. Sealed for the heel, and that is the deal. The number one thing you do is roll back and view all the videos that I am tired of watching of myself, because I am not interested in seeing myself like I have to do right now. So praise the Lord. Well, currently speaking, I guess that would be referring to me, but that's awkward. So let's refer to what is higher and the highest, which is what I'm here to preach about. Oh God, I don't want to be a preacher. Oh Lord, here we go. One God. Is this your life? This is your life. Okay, so just go ahead. This your life. Is this your life? This is your life. Okay, so just go ahead. This your life. So you see all that?
This my life. This ain't no rap. My heart up on my sleeve and I wear it like an outfit. So much pain that I probably feel a fountain. Probably born broke. I promise we gon' die rich.
Nothing is lost. Nothing is to be lost. Nothing can be loosed. And nothing is a loss. All is all. Reincarnation, incarnations, it's real just like you are.